Good evening, I'm Jess De Los Santos. The big stories tonight. After confusion on the guidelines for local air travel led to canceled flights on Monday, carriers are now ready to mount domestic services. MMDA General Manager Jojo Garcia denies blaming commuters for the chaos on the road last Monday, the first day of the general community quarantine in NCR. And senators are mortified after finding out that the health department has failed to compensate frontline health workers who died from COVID-19. Canteens around the metro are also adapting to the general community quarantine now that dine-in services have been allowed. Commuters are still finding it difficult to travel on the third day of GCQ in Metro Manila. MMDA GM Jojo Garcia disputed an online article where he allegedly criticized the riding public for Monday's mayhem. Greg Gregorio has the rest of the story.
MMDA General Manager Jojo Garcia was quoted online blaming commuters for the chaos on last Monday during the first day of GCQ implementation in the NCR. Some commuters didn't take it too kindly, considering what they had to go through to get to work. Public buses and jeepneys are not allowed to operate under the first phase, forcing travelers to be stranded on the road. Monday's pandemonium caused Jocelyn Paredes to be late for her 7 a.m. duty.
Nakalagay naman pag GCQ may transport na dapat eh. Kaya nagulat kami walang transport. Kundi yung mga nakita ko lang ng puro service ng kumpanya lang. Bumalik ako ng bahay. Nung nakita ko marami ng tao, bumalik ako kasi mas safe sa bahay.
Emil Ocampo urges government officials to put themselves in the shoes of ordinary citizens.
Kasi nga, yung government hindi nila na-feel yung paano mag-commute kasi alam nila may sasakyan sila. Kaya yung mga tao nagko-commute nahihirapan.
But MMDA General Manager Jojo Garcia disputed the article, calling it fake news. Garcia insists he never blamed commuters.
Ang sinabi ko lang, ganito yung mga commuters natin na out of focus. Meaning, ang priority nila ngayon is to travel from point A to point B. Now, lilimutan nila na may COVID pa. Anong pagsisisi doon sa ginawa mo, sinabi ko na out of focus. Nire-remind ko para sa kanila yun.
He pointed out that even the Department of Transportation is highlighting the fact that everyone's health and safety must remain top priority. He's also urging businesses to provide shuttle services for their employees.
Yung mga employers, sana naman tulungan nila ang gobyerno. Tandaan nyo, yung mga empleyado nyo, pagkat kung saan sumakay, nakakalubin o nahawa, pagpasok ang pisita niya, mahawin, maiisip ko rin ang negosyo nyo. Kasi maka-quarantine lang din.
The government has already allowed some 500 buses to ply the Angat-Quezon Avenue route along Commonwealth Avenue. But on Tuesday, they only counted just 17 units servicing the route. So for those who don't want to take their chances with limited transport options, bicycles are the way to go. Bikers United Marshals observed that since Monday, there are around 2,400 to 2,500 bikers passing through Commonwealth Avenue from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. or the morning rush hours. Problem is, with no dedicated bike lane on the major highway, they're also competing with motor vehicles for space. So since Monday, the group placed plastic bottles in some parts of Commonwealth Avenue to mark a lane for bikes.
It's really needed, and if you're passing by Commonwealth Ave every day, makikita mo on how the biker struggles to travel alongside with the four wheels and the motorcycle. And sa mga pedestrian, sa mga gumagamit ng road, pedestrian and bicycle yung pinaka-vulnerable.
Earlier today, the group placed markers along the westbound stretch of Commonwealth Avenue across St. Peter's Parish to Don Antonio. But before 8 a.m., MMDA personnel arrived and removed them.
Hindi po ito dumaan ng kahit na anong proper coordination po sa local government o sa MMDA. Kami po for traffic management, safety po ang iniintindi natin dito, no?
MMDA spokesperson Celine Pialago explained to the group that they could be fined 1,000 pesos if they continue using these improvised markers. She suggests using sidewalks instead.
Mga bike lanes po sa iba't ibang syudad dito sa Metro Manila. Pero major thoroughfares such as EDSA, Commonwealth, wala pa po. Wala pang protected bike lane para sa kanila. Kaya po ang lagi namin pakiusap for the meantime, gamitin po muna natin itong sidewalk. No? Huwag po muna tayo makipagkarera sa mga pribado at pampublikong sasakyan.
The Bikers United Marshals and the MMDA had a short dialogue. There's a possibility that both sides will hold a formal meeting to resolve the matter. Incidentally, today happens to be World Bicycle Day as well. The government encourages the use of bicycles as an alternative mode of transportation in these trying times. They're also discussing options on protecting bikers post-quarantine or what will soon become the new normal. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Local airlines adjusted the schedules of their domestic flights this week after some flights were canceled yesterday. That's due to confusion over clearances from LGUs and the IATF, leaving some passengers stranded in Manila. Gerard de la Peña with a story.
5 domestic flights, all operated by Cebu Pacific, took off from the NAIA today. Passengers, mostly those stranded in Manila since the lockdown in March, were able to fly back home to General Santos City, Cagayan de Oro, and Naga. Some passengers came to the airport at the break of dawn just to be sure that they will be able to catch their flight. This caused crowding at the hub's perimeter as the terminal opened just in time for the first flight at 11:30 a.m. Among today's passengers were travelers whose flights were called off on Tuesday. The cancellation was caused by confusion among airlines regarding the additional permit needed from the IATF to mount domestic services. Irish Bisana was among the passengers who had to go through a great ordeal just to be able to go home to Jensan after being stranded in Metro Manila for almost 3 months.
Pinagpapasapasahan ng airport kung saan ka ba talaga sasakay kasi tinuro kami sa Terminal 2 kasi doon daw yung sabi na may flight ng domestic. Tapos pagdating namin doon, wala din palang flight ng domestic. Tambay lang kami doon.
This couple from Tarlac went early to the NAIA, not knowing that their flight to Tagbilaran was cancelled and was rescheduled to June 16.
Kaninang umaga nakalagay pa kami ng baggage sa ticket. Tinanggap pa naman din nila. Kanina hindi kami nakatulog kasi malayo yun. Alauna kami nagpunta dito, 1 o'clock po. Oo. Tapos doon na kami sa taas. Doon pa namin nalaman na pinasa pa kami sa gate, yung sa gate 4. Oo. Sabi doon daw.
Airport authorities explained that flights are spread out among the 4 terminals to ensure social distancing between arriving and departing passengers.
That's the reason why we asked airlines to submit to us beforehand their planned operations, specifically for domestics. The demand right now is very much very low, probably 20% the most. So 20% of the 700 is likewise about 140 flights spread throughout the day. That's what we're going to do so that this social distancing will be implemented for both departure and arrival.
On One News agenda, Cebu Pacific called on the government to issue clear guidelines as they are also adjusting to the new normal.
I think the reaction of the government with all of these different precautionary measures at the local and national level are understandable given this situation. But having said that, yes, it would be ideal if we had some guidelines. For instance, how do we clearly define what is leisure and non-leisure travel? At this point in time, we only have a general idea of it, but for specific circumstances, we have to sort of make a discernment or a judgment call with our passengers, and it would be ideal to have these clearer guidelines, but we are working with the government so that we could come up with these clarifications.
Both AirAsia and the Philippine Airlines will gradually resume their domestic operations starting Friday.
Gusto po natin abisuhan yung ating mga pasahero na inurong po natin ang ating resumption date mula June 3 to June 5 is Friday. This is to give po enough time to our guests na makonsolidate lahat ng kanilang dokumento. Ang pagbabago din po ng ating resumption date ay following new developments from LGUs regarding yung opening po ng ating mga local airports.
Passengers are requested to go to the airport within 3 hours before their flights and not earlier to avoid crowding. They are also reminded to check necessary documents required by local government units of their destinations, including medical clearances and travel passes. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
The government has allowed limited dine-in operations for eateries, canteens, and fast food outlets. But are these establishments ready to accommodate customers without compromising their safety? Laila Pangilinan tells us in this report.
Thick plastic book covers and acrylic shields now serve as barriers between customers and staff in the Metro's canteens. Cooked meals displayed in trays instead of having to open big pots and pans. When it's time to pay, they simply have to place money in a basket or tray to avoid physical contact. Signs have also been set up to remind people to practice social distancing. Some canteens even provide alcohol to customers. Aside from these additional safety measures, canteens here in General Luna Street in Manila have allowed people to dine in one condition, that only one person per table should be seated. Yes, folks, this karinderya is bukas sa lahat ng gustong kumain with social distancing. Aside from limiting customers to one person per seat, the tables are also set up far from each other. Paper plates, plastic forks and spoons took the place of the usual metal cutlery.
Dapat po kung disposable para maiwasan na rin yung pagkalat na kung mayroong mga virus na yan.
Tables are wiped clean with soapy water immediately after a customer has finished his meal. Though many customers still prefer taking their orders home, the likes of Ranel, who works as a messenger, appreciates canteens like these that accommodate hungry warriors like him.
Dati kasi hindi makahanap ng ng makainan kaya itiis na lang yung gutom. Hapon na. Pag-uwi na lang, kakain.
Hindi pa talaga siya nalilipasan?
Hindi, pag may nadaanan akong yung bikiri, tinapay na lang.
Food prices remain the same despite the crisis. Canteen owners say this is their way of helping people who have no time to cook and those that are just plain hungry. Meanwhile, in Dasmariñas, Cavite, the owner of this canteen figured out how he can allow people to dine in while practicing social distancing. He used plastic covers as partitions on long tables. Food is also served using disposable plates and utensils. For News 5, Laila Pangilinan, we are One News.
COVID-19 cases in the Philippines inch closer to 20,000. On this day alone, the DOH reported more than 700 new coronavirus infections. Around 200 are fresh cases, while 530 are late. 8 people died from the SARS-like disease overnight, raising the death toll to 974. Meanwhile, 90 more patients have recovered. So far, more than 4,000 people have gotten better from COVID-19 in the Philippines. We'll pause for a short break, but when the big story returns, the House passes the anti-terror bill on third and final reading. And senators grilled the health department over its failure to compensate medical workers who died from COVID-19. I'm Jess De Los Santos and you're watching The Big Story. Senators slammed the health department when they learned that it hasn't compensated medical workers who died in the line of duty. In defense, the DOH says they're just waiting for comments from the labor and budget departments before they can schedule the payout. Marian Enriquez tells us more.
Para po dito sa
The Philippine Medical Association is appealing to the Office of the President to make good on its promise to compensate health workers who died in the line of duty, helping the nation fight the coronavirus disease.
We need action sana, or we need some outcome of our communication with them. So that's why we want to make it official to Office of Malacanang and to the Senator's office, no, to even Senator Pacquiao and Senator Bongo.
Under the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act law, public and private health workers who died while fighting the pandemic is entitled to a compensation of 1 million pesos, while those who contracted the disease and became severely ill but were able to recover can receive 100,000 pesos. During last night's debates on Senate Bill 1564, or the proposed Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, senators learned that no compensation was extended to any health worker who died or who has gotten sick because the implementing rules and regulations, or IRR, for this provision has not been crafted.
I'm very disappointed to hear the response from the DOH, Your Honor, in fact, and I thank the gentleman from Zambales for bringing this out because, the Senate labored, burned the midnight oil to pass Bayanihan 1. It's quite upsetting to find out that it has taken so many, so many months have gone without the DOH crafting the IRR here. So many health workers have already suffered, whether it's died or been severely afflicted with the COVID virus. So yes, again, it's very upsetting.
It's in the law.
Yes, Your Honor.
The lack or absence of the IRR should not be an excuse not to comply with the law.
Based on Senator Richard Gordon's data, 32 health workers died of COVID-19, while 2 are severely ill. Several senators aired their frustration over the report of the Department of Health on the failure to release the compensation.
Yeah, Mr. President, it's really criminal, this neglect to pass this and to delay these types of benefits. I mean, these people we keep praising them as our heroes, but yet it's just mere lip service if we don't give them anything material.
This is unacceptable and unforgivable, Mr. President, and it is. They have already died. They have already suffered. Their families have, and we continue to allow them to suffer more because of this failure and this inaction on the part of the Department of Health. This is completely and totally unacceptable.
Senate President Tito Soto meanwhile sent a letter to DOH Secretary Francisco Duque III calling for the immediate payment of compensation.
I sent a letter just now, and I'll give you a copy, of a very strongly worded letter to the DOH on why they have not implemented that part of the Bayanihan Heal as One Act. Dapat yung mga nasaktan or nagkasakit na mga health workers at yung mga namatayan na health workers, dapat kinocompensate na. Dapat noon pa lang. Dalawang buwan eh. Kung hindi kami gagamitan ng palusot ng IRR, huwag nyo gagamitin yun. Sapagkat pag pinasa yung batas yun. Hindi sinabi na kailangan may IRR mo na bago ipatupad yung batas. Huwag nyo gagamitin, huwag nilang gagamitin palusot sa amin yung walang IRR. Kailangan i-implement nila agad yan.
Duque meanwhile said there will be a joint administrative order that will be passed for the 1 million peso compensation for the victims' surviving families. However, the GAO is still with the Labor and the Budget and Management departments for their comments. After that, that's the time they will be able to sign and schedule the release of funds to the beneficiaries. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere earlier said the DOH has reached out to the victims' family members. For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
These are the other big stories today. The palace has yet to give a statement on the DFA's suspension of the termination of the VFA, or the Visiting Forces Agreement, with the U.S. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said he has yet to speak to President Duterte regarding the matter.
Sang-ayon po dun sa diplomatic note ni Secretary Locsin, siya lang daw po ang pwede magsalita tungkol sa kanyang diplomatic note.
And with that, the House of Representatives passed on third and final reading the controversial anti-terrorism bill. Lawmakers were given the chance to explain the reason behind their votes. Minority Floor Leader Benny Abante, who voted no, claims that several provisions of HB 6875 violates the Constitution. He slammed specific provisions of the bill, including the one authorizing the government to arrest and detain those merely suspected of terrorism without any warrant. He also raised concerns about the fact that the lower chamber fully adopted the Senate's version without deliberating and coming up with their own.
Na walang saysay ang check and balance, na siyang dahilan kung bakit may dalawang kapulungan. Nakakatakot po ito, mga kapatid, mga kasama. Under this bill, anyone suspected of being a terrorist can be detained without warrant for up to 24 days. Kahit sino sa atin ay maaaring ipaaresto at makulong ng 24 days nang walang anumang kasong isinasampa sa hukuman. If we live in a country that allowed the police to search your home at any time for any reason, if we live in a country that allowed the government to open your mail, eavesdrop on your phone conversations, or intercept your email communications, if we live in a country that allowed the government to hold people in jail indefinitely based on what they write or think, or based on mere suspicion that they are up to no good, then the government would no doubt discover and arrest more terrorists.
APEC Party List Representative Serge Dagook voted yes with reservations. He said there are some questionable provisions that he wants to be discussed during the BICAM.
Kaya po bumoto ako ng yes. I would like to reiterate because I wanted to support the government's effort against terrorism. I hope that all of the reservations at mga pangamba na nasabi ng ating mga kasamahan sa kapulungang ito ay matalakay sa BICAM at masolusyonan at hindi mangyari yung ating mga agam-agam.
Lanao del Norte Representative Khalid Dimaporo is also seeking more clarity regarding the measure. He abstained from voting, claiming that he was never afforded the chance to fully understand the necessity for an anti-terrorism bill.
I felt compelled to have vote in abstention. And the reason being, foremost, one, we were not allowed to ask any questions. I simply want to be cleared or answered. I want that there were some clarificatory questions that I wanted answered so I can understand how important House Bill 6875 is for our country. First, I wanted to know, what's the status now? We just went through how many years of martial law? And I have reports from the Regional Peace and Order Council, Provincial Peace and Order Council, that in the Lanao region, we have eradicated the terrorists. So what's the status now? Why is it so urgent that we have an anti-terrorism law? Akala ko tapos na tayo dito.
Meralco explained to lawmakers during a House hearing that bills during the ECQ were computed based on the existing rules of the Energy Regulatory Commission.
Yan po ay kinompute base sa existing DISOR rules ng ERC na pinapayagan po ang hindi lang ang Meralco, pero lahat ng distribution utilities na magpadala ng estimated bills. Ang estimated bills, so nakasaad sa ERC rules yan kung paano i-compute. Ang ginagamit po dyan ay yung last three previous bills ng customer at ina-average po yan base sa formula.
Aside from providing letters of explanation, Espinosa said Meralco will extend payment due dates as well as offer installment options to its customers.
Magiging very considerate tayo sa mga hindi makabayad on time Kaya bibigyan natin sila ng extension at hindi natin sila puputulan kung hindi sila makapagbayad hanggang end ng Agosto.
ABS-CBN Chairman Emeritus Gabby Lopez answers questions on his citizenship which some lawmakers have raised during the network's franchise renewal bid. Joining the House hearing via teleconferencing, Lopez said his U.S. citizenship was granted automatically with his birth in Boston. But he insisted that it did not negate his Philippine citizenship because he was born to Filipino parents.
I know all my actions in the last 35 years have been associated with ABS-CBN. Let's begin with the service of ABS-CBN.
In the same hearing, Justice Undersecretary Emeline Aglipay-Villar defended Lopez, saying that he has been a Filipino citizen from birth.
Sa kanyang pagkapanganak, siya po ay isang Filipino citizen. At tama rin po, dahil siya ay panganak sa United States, ay siya rin po ay isang American citizen. By birth, both Filipino and American citizen. Ang kanyang pagkakamit ng kanyang U.S. passport ay hindi po dahilan para wala po ang kanyang Filipino citizenship. At hindi naman po niya pagkakaroon ng Philippine passport ay hindi rin isang dahilan na hindi siya maging Filipino.
And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. I'm Jess De Los Santos. We are One News. Good evening.